Have you ever been confused about your protein intake? The macros, as some people call it, macros, the proteins, carbs, and fats. Have you ever had a hard time consuming enough protein? Have you ever been told you're not eating enough protein? Let's talk about it today. All right. We are back. Welcome to your new favorite TV show, Feeling at a 10. I'm your host, Lex Vuko. In the last few episodes, we've covered different styles of eating, different diets. I don't like that term. And at the end of the day, hopefully you got enough information to realize you have to work with what's best for you, your body, and your schedule. In the previous episodes, we talked about top 5 breakfasts that are my favorite and easy to make and consume. And today I want to talk about protein. How much protein should you eat? Is more always better? When is it too little, too much, and so on? I'm very well aware that there's so much confusing information out there. And because my mission is to make things easier for you, I want to help you apply the basic fundamental knowledge so that you can find out what's right for you and make the best choices for you and your family. So here's what we're going to cover today. Understanding protein, its functions in the body. We're going to talk about sources of protein, recommended intake of protein, potential risks of too much or too little protein, and how to find the right balance. And at the end, we're going to answer some viewers' questions that you can always submit at lex.pro. That's leks.pro. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share, because the more people hear this information, the easier it's going to be for them to make choices for themselves. So let's get straight into it. First things first, let's understand what protein is. Proteins have many roles in the body, okay? They are proteins break down to amino acids, and we're going to get to what those are in a minute. Let's talk about what the protein does for our body. It builds and repairs our tissue, like muscles, skin, hair, okay? Another thing, it produces enzymes and hormones and other body chemicals. And it can act as an enzyme or hormone. It builds fluid, it maintains fluid and acid-base balance, which again is essential for proper bodily function, because if we're too acidic, it's no bueno. That's where actually most diseases happen. It transports and stores nutrients, which can act as a source of energy, obviously. It provides structure and it's a biochemical catalyst. It regulates body's processes. It pretty much regulates every task of cellular life, including the shape of the cell and the inner organization of a cell, product manufacture, waste cleanup, and even routine maintenance. Like, whoa, there's so much that protein does. It can also prevent edema from happening. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that word right, edema. I have an accent if you haven't noticed. So, so proteins tend to hold salt and water inside our blood vessels so that the fluid does not leak into tissues. And people who have edema issues, they have fluid buildup in their bodies. This is often seen around people's ankles, sometimes their calves. It can be in the arms as well. It can be pretty much in any body part, but this is oftentimes the most in legs and arms. All right, so what are some types of protein? And don't worry, I'm going to get to amino acids in a minute. Types of protein would be lean meats, beef, lamb, veal, pork, kangaroo even, poultry, right? Like chicken, turkey, duck, goose, anything that's basically animal meat. Fish and seafood, fish, prawns, crab, lobster, mussels, oysters, scallops, you name it, okay? Eggs are protein, well, egg whites to be in particular, but yolk has so much benefit to it. Dairy products such as milk, yogurt, especially Greek yogurt, cheese. Obviously, always read the ingredients, make sure you're getting the right kind of cheese. Then we're going to get into some vegetarian ones, such as lentils, black beans, fava beans, chickpeas, garbanzo beans. Pretty much all beans, all legumes, soybeans as well, including quinoa. Quinoa is interesting because it has complete protein. So what is complete protein and incomplete? This is where we're getting to amino acids. Our body needs 20 different amino acids to function correctly. 9 of those amino acids are called essential amino acids. What that means is they have to be consumed through the food we eat, or we will lack them. And obviously, based on what we now know about protein, something in the body is going to suffer when we are not getting enough protein. So what is a complete protein? So the foods that we eat has the complete protein has these essential amino acids, so-called. So when you're consuming meat, you don't have to worry about it because it is complete protein out of those 9 essential ones, okay? The incomplete ones are typically in vegan and vegetarian protein sources, because what happens is they don't have all 9 essential amino acids included. So you'll hear people say that we have to combine different foods to get complete protein. And in one of the previous episodes, I talk about that, where I say, yes, we need to combine them, but I don't believe that the body doesn't know how to combine it themselves. What I mean by that is, if you're not having animal product in a day, but you're consuming in the morning maybe lentils, in the evening nuts and seeds that also have protein, by the way, you are getting essential amino acids. So I personally don't think that the body doesn't know how to do that. However, it should be consumed daily, or obviously it's not perfect nutrition for people all the time. So do your best to eat enough protein, which gets me to the second part of this, which is, what is the recommended protein intake? And is more always better? So depends who you ask. And I'm going to help you get to your own answer in a minute. What happens is, if you're in fitness industry, and if you've been in fitness industry, or hear anything from fitness industry, generally the rule is 1 gram per the pound of your body. Okay. So let's say I am 165 pounds. So I should be consuming 165 grams of protein a day. So a lot of people get the app and they are trying to make sure they're reaching that. 165 grams of protein a day is a lot. Okay. It's a lot of protein. It can be done, but most of my clients, when they first come to me, they'll say, based on my macros, which someone else calculated for them, they'll say, based on my macros, I can never make my protein intake. And to me, that, well, if you are aware of your food, that tells me that your body is already telling you that's too much protein. And this is why I'm saying that. In the US, the weight is calculated in pounds. In Europe and most of the world, it's in kilos. Now, when you get to Europe and you ask someone in fitness, they're most likely going to tell you 1 gram per kilo of your body. That's half. Okay, 165, you divided by 2.2, so roughly, let's say about 70 kilos, okay? Now in Europe, they're telling you 1 gram per kilo, which means 70 grams per day. 70 sounds more doable than 165. So this is why I'm very cautious when someone tells me about their macros being over 100 grams, because where are you getting that information from? And what I've noticed in fitness when it comes to trainers and people who do nutrition is they calculate macros and they're trying to base it for a person who wants to generally lose weight. So generally people want to lose some weight, tone up, okay? So we need more protein so that we can build a muscle. But what happens is, if you tell me I need to eat 165 grams of protein a day and I'm not eating that, am I undereating? Am I overeating carbs? What's happening? And most people end up feeling guilty because they're not making it to their protein intake, which is too much to begin with. Because here's what's happening. When you cannot make your protein intake is because you're starting to feel like you're force feeding yourself with protein just to hit the gram number. Your body is trying to tell you, hey, this is too much. I can't freaking do this. Okay. So then what people do is they get protein shakes, and then they have protein shake in the morning, protein shake in the evening. Then they get busy around the lunch. So they're like, I'm just going to do a protein shake. And they're like, well, I kind of made my, grammage for the day, but it was all from a protein shake. So it was, yes, they got their essential acids, and yes, there's better and worse ones. And we're going to get into that toward the end. But you have to understand that if you're trying to force yourself to eat too much of anything, it is not going to work long term. Another thing I want to mention here on the whole 1 gram per kilo or per pound, this is generally for men. I want to remind everybody here that generally studies in medicine and even fitness generally are done by men. On men, not women. So most of the statistics that we're hearing is for men. And again, is it 1 gram per pound or is it 1 gram per kilo? Because the difference is double. And is this for men or is this for women? Then the question is, what is your end goal? Are you wanting to lose weight? Are you wanting to tone up? Are you wanting to build muscle? Now, from 20 years in fitness and nutrition, I can tell you that most people really do undereat their protein because they're eating mainly processed heavy carbs like pastas, and then they have cheese on it. They're like, well, it's got some protein in it. Okay. So I want you to imagine your plate with having a third of protein, okay? Let's say a quarter protein, a quarter maybe some healthy carbs, and the rest can be your veggies, right? Now, I'm all about healthy oils. So if your rest is your veggies, they're either sauteed on oil or using, let's say, olive oil or avocado oil in your salad, fantastic. I want to remind you that whoever gives you a statistic of 1 kilo, 1 gram, or 1 whatever, do they know you? Do they know what your goals are? Do they know what you're already eating? And again, we're going back to, if you come to me and say, calculate macros for me, I generally, unless you really sell it to me to do that, I generally never want to just write it up for you, because I need to know where you are in order to help you long term. Because if you're used to eating pastas all day and now you want to follow my macros, that's just another diet that you're force feeding yourself with things you're not already used to eating or not used to eating yet. And it's just not going to work long term. So I do, by the way, have something called Kitchen Makeover, where if you're interested in that, you can contact me on social media or on likes.pro and sign up for that. What we do is we spend good 2 hours virtually in your kitchen, in your pantry. We talk about nutrients. We talk about your family and your habits and your family's habits. We talk about your go-to foods, and we start switching things around, because you don't want to approach anything as a diet. You don't want to force feed yourself protein. There's this whole carnivore craze now, which, by the way, when you're looking into those studies, always check who's funding the studies and who's behind that, because it's going to give you a lot of information. That's all I'm going to say to that. But carnivore diet is generally, for most population, not good. And that leads me into what are potential risks of excessive protein consumption. Now, somebody's going to come back and say, I know a friend of a cousin of a friend who has done carnivore and they lost 40 pounds and they look great and blah, blah, blah. Great. Good for them. But for general public, this is not the case. And I want to talk with you about potential risks because you need to be aware of it. So consuming more protein than the body needs, which again, we're trying to determine how much it needs, can cause symptoms such as intestinal discomfort, dehydration, nausea, fatigue, headaches, and a whole lot more. Chronic protein overconsumption can increase risk of conditions such as cardiovascular disease, blood vessel disorders, liver and kidney issues, and even seizures. Okay, So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying we are all different and we need to look into how humans lived. I don't believe we're meant to be vegan. I don't believe we're meant to go carnivore either. I believe we're meant to eat whole foods which have been on earth for millions of years that humans have consumed for a very long time. Okay? Because you have to know how your body is. Now, are there people who have done carnivore, benefited from it? Yes, but very few. And is it doable long term for you? Because let me tell you, I've been in fitness. I've done the whole fitness thing of 6 meals a day and chicken breast and asparagus generally. My body looks fantastic. I was miserable. I had no social life, not that I care to go out so much, but wherever you go, you can't go to like a normal person. You have to package your own food. So think about carnivore diet when you're eating meat in the morning. Like I cannot eat meat in the morning. That is not something that goes well on my stomach first thing in the morning. So again, you have to know yourself. If you are someone who generally eats a lot of meat, second thing I want to tell you is what is the quality of your meat? Because we have seen a rise in, I'm going to talk about girls here only because I didn't read on boys. We have seen a rise on girls developing fully at the age of 9, even 9, 10, because they're consuming a lot of meat, which is full of hormones. So once again, now somebody's going to say, well, like she just said, let's eat how humans used to eat, and humans always ate meat. Yes, but they weren't full of hormones. So when it comes to overall eating, I want to ask you, do you know what your source of protein is? If you're vegan or vegetarian, are you educated enough to know that you're getting enough protein through lentils, nuts, and seeds and soy and so on? And again, what's the effect of too much soy? It can mess up your thyroid. So too much of anything generally is really bad for the body, right? I have people who are like, this, whatever. Spirulina is so great. It's fantastic. But if I eat spirulina all day, every day, it's going to do some damage. Okay. It's the same thing like taking showers. Okay. A shower once, twice a day is fantastic, but taking 7 showers in a day is going to do damage to your skin. Same with sun. We don't use SPF because I believe that's a chemical storm. I want to say that word. And we have used raspberry seed oil in the past, but now we got enough tan that we don't use it. But do I go in the middle of the day in the hot sun? No. When it's burning my skin, it's a sign to not be in the sun. So is the sun bad? No. Is too much sun bad? Yes. Just like anything else. So again, I want to remind you, when you're thinking about your family and how they should eat, that's what we're talking about. What is the right balance for you? And that's the next thing I want to talk about, how to find the right balance. Well, experiment. Okay. First of all, you have to be clear on your goals. Am I trying to build muscle? Am I wanting to go all in, which by the way, I don't recommend to most people. Am I wanting to lean out? What is my reason for wanting to increase or decrease my protein intake? What is my end goal? Okay. Then maybe using some guidelines to say, is it 1 gram per kilogram or is it 1 gram per pound of my body? Some people will even tell you 2 grams per pound. Now I'm talking about 300 grams of protein. I'm just eating protein. That's, again, back to carnivore thing. So what is enough for you? You're going to have to end up determining that. I can absolutely help you. That's what I've been doing for 20 years, is helping people find their own balance. So what I would do with you, especially if you do a kitchen makeover, we would get all these things down. If you do want me to calculate macros for you, that would be a continuous thing. I'm never going to just create macros for you and be like, here, go with it. See you in 6 months. It's not going to work. There's so much psychology when it comes to our relationship with food. If you force feed yourself anything, it is not going to work. Okay. So once again, I cannot stress out enough. I know I know that you would rather be like, give me this black and white. How much? It's going to end up being determined by your own body. But I will tell you that when you start eating too much protein and your body's just like, oh my God, I cannot have any more. Like if I see one more chicken breast or salmon or meat, I am going to vomit. That is probably a good sign of your body to tell you, you know what, bud? I don't think we should have any more protein. Okay. So again, there are risks involved with having too much protein, and that can lead to, like we talked about, a liver and kidney issues. Now, you'll find people in fitness who will say, well, as long as you drink enough water, that's fine. Okay. Well, there's also constipation issues that happen when people don't have enough fiber. So I really don't even want to know at this point how the carnivore people are doing, because I have talked to many people in fitness industry. And when we go on our little fitness diets, when they put us on those diets, we're not getting enough fiber. And what happens is people are having serious trouble going to the bathroom. So that's another thing to take into consideration when it comes to protein. I wish it was simpler than that, but here's the beauty. Once you find out what works for you, you're set for life. You're going to know your body, which is exactly what you want. You don't need anyone else telling you how much you should eat. You'll know how your body feels. You'll know how your body feels the best and when it feels the worst. I have a client from the other day that I signed, and we were talking about meat. And she said, the red meat does not sit well with me. She said, I feel horrible when I eat it. So she's like, can you not include that maybe? And I'm like, we're going to do this together, girlfriend. Like, I'm not going to put red meat there to force feed you to eat something you're already aware is not good for your body. So you always want to be aware of your body, how it's feeling, and then how is it changing? Again, it's not instant gratification either. Day to day, yes. Oh my gosh, I consume too much protein. It doesn't feel really well. I'm forcing it down my throat. It's not going to work. Okay. So again, it's a trial and error. And I find also, before we get to questions, I want to say this. I find that when people are creating macros for people who want to generally lose weight, they want to reduce their carbs and fats, and then they don't know what else to do but give them protein to eat. So a balance is something that I can help you with, and the end goal is for you to use it for yourself. All right, let's get into some viewers' questions. I want to make sure we get to those. So you can submit the questions at lex.pro. You can also find me on all social media. Please connect with me. It's Lex Vuko, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on YouTube and Facebook. So go ahead. All right. Question, Kaylee. I hope I'm saying that right. Kaylee K, is protein powder good or bad for you? I know it's processed and not regulated. Great question. Depends which one. I am going to put in the show notes, in the description, the one that I have been using for 10 years now and that I recommend. If you ever see me talking about any others, it's probably because I've tried it and discovered something else. I'm very picky about supplements and protein powders that I use or recommend to my clients because they are not regulated. Not that I trust FDA by any means. It is processed. And again, you have to know the source. I do my due diligence of getting to know the company, what their ethics are, what their mission is. If I can, and when I can, I even connect with people. Like, this is how I research even supplements. And I have a supplement company I also want to recommend to you. They don't have a protein powder, but I'm going to share the protein powder that I've been using. The one I use is vegan, just because I don't know where the meat is coming from. And I want to make sure that it's healthy. And I also use it once a day, not more than twice a day. And twice a day, if I use it twice a day in a day, I'm like, all right, let me make sure that my nutrition is on point, because once again, I don't want my whole protein to come from a protein shake. But they are convenient. And again, you have to know the ones you're using for. I will again put a link to the one that I recommend. All right. The next question is, this is from an anonymous person. Can too much protein cause bathroom issues? I notice when I eat too much of it, I can't go. I'm assuming I can't go to the bathroom. Absolutely. I think I just covered it toward the end of the episode. It can absolutely cause bathroom issues. There's something called protein farts. And oh my God, I don't even want to know what carnivore people do for that. But when people start consuming too much protein, they're starting to have really, really smelly farts. Again, maybe a sign from the body that it's not the greatest thing for us. Just saying. And yes, it can cause constipation. Please make sure you're always drinking enough water. Regardless of what you end up eating throughout the day, please make sure you're drinking enough water. Water is absolutely essential for our body. And then I also want to point out something else about protein that I failed to mention. So many people in fitness industry say that the body will eat its own muscle in order to get protein. That's only if you're not working out. If you're working out, your body does everything to preserve that muscle. So pay attention. Are you eating too much or too little protein? Did you increase it? Are you having bathroom issues? Are you force feeding yourself protein? All these questions need to be answered so that you can find your end result and your well-being, a balanced well-being. And remember, we're here Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You can find me or you can watch a replay. I'm also on Facebook Live on my profile Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern time for a quick workout. You can find me on all social media. And please, let's connect. Go to lex.pro for any further information, and I'll see you